We thought that this was very important in the context of the pandemic because most of the clinical trials that had helped to advance all vaccine research during the COVID pandemic, they had excluded those individuals. And following this general rule that nothing for us without us, we thought that it was really critical to do a specific trial to test not only the safety, but especially the immunogenicity, and that we could provide a lot of those tools to IPRA to answer the question of how their vaccine was performing in those special populations. So to develop that trial, of course, we needed, and it was pivotal for us to have community engagement from the beginning of the project.
EATG started the collaboration within the RBD-COV project in 2021, where we were asked to participate in the community engagement work package and the dissemination part of the project. We set up a community advisory panel with members of the EATG and including also community partners from other immunocompromised conditions. We were responsible for the development of a psychosocial research, which monitorized the needs and the perception of the clinical trials within the participants.
We tried to incorporate some comic strips and infographics to be able to disseminate the information among the community members, to make it more accessible in terms of language. And this was really important because the scientific information, sometimes you don't understand it and people won't be able to understand what is being done. So we tried to make it as much accessible as possible.
Why people don't get vaccinated? People refuse to get vaccinated for multiple factors, but we will concentrate on one specifically: lack of trust. Refusal to accept vaccines can have different motivations or perceptions or motives. People may think, or some people believe, there are poison to the body. And this is clearly connected to the idea that if you're healthy, well, you should inoculate something into your body that is man-made. Some people even think that vaccines are meant to control your life. You have had bad experiences in the past with the health systems that may affect you. Also, you may feel anxiety about how fast sometimes scientific knowledge develops and products are created. All these elements may influence your decision, your acceptability or reluctance to be administered a vaccine. So dialogue must be built in an equal relationship where we can incorporate what society and communities think about research.
When I was asked to join the community advisory panel, it felt like it was a natural step. I had reviewed research protocols, I had exchanged extensively with researchers, and therefore I knew how critical it was to have the involvement of the community as early as possible in the process. So what drew me was the focus on people living with immunocompromising conditions, including people living with HIV. And actually, this is the reason why the EATG, with its HIV advocacy experience, was approached. In this sense, the CAP meant to bring in voices of the affected communities, because we're not talking about HIV specifically, we were talking about being heard in a non-HIV clinical trial. So you see, that was a major shift, and it made our participation in the trial even more important.
So RBD-CO was really different for me because we co-created the agenda and we're part of in every step since from very beginning. And the other important thing, the company, the pharmaceutical company, was really open, and they listened us open-heartedly, open-minded. And I think this made a really huge difference in our communications in between them. So I learned a lot through this project. I believe all companies designing study must work with communities, but especially communities from underrepresented countries. As activists, we must raise local issues and make sure that they have heard. I think that RBD-CO showed how regional voice can be effective. So I hope more EU-funded projects consider at least one person from underrepresented countries or regions like Middle East and ECA to see real-life challenges and discuss about them.
When we talk about youth engagement in clinical trials, there are two main problems. The first one is lack of awareness. People mostly don't understand why their participation matters. And the second is lack of accessibility, since the clinical trials are mostly considered for adults, not for young population and especially for children.